What up, people? Pushing Ball Black here, and this will be more of a stream of conscious video vlog, and I'm going to react to a couple of things that I heard and read today, and I gotta get this off my chest, and if it ticks off some people, fine, and if YouTube demonetizes it, fine. I might not even put the monetization on this video, but fine. All right. I get up this morning. I'm on Facebook. One of my Facebook friends, Leroy Moore, activist, poet, disabled activist, poet, rapper, and general, educator of me in passing as far as this police brutality against disabled people thing. Post this article, and it is on, and give me a second to bring it up as I stand in front of my computer right now. The Mountain Express. U.S. Disability Organization demands more training for police when interacting with disabled persons. This was posted on September 23rd, 2016. Press release, a study by the Ruderman Family Foundation reveals that half of all recent high-profile police-related killings are people with disabilities, revealing a disturbing trend often ignored by media when reporting on police brutality. The Ruderman Family Foundation, a national leader of disability inclusion, again reiterates its call for police officers to receive better training when interacting with people with disabilities. Keith Lamont Scott, a 43-year-old man with disabilities, was fatally shot by police on Tuesday in Charlotte, North Carolina. We all know about that one. According to the lawyer for the family, Keith Lamont Scott, Mr. Scott had a disability, said Jay Ruderman, president of the Ruderman Family Foundation. A recent study by the Ruderman Family Foundation found that half the people killed in police brutality have a disability, and that disability played a role in the incidents which led to these fatalities. I'll get back to that later. In a statement from Justin Bamberg, a attorney for the family of Keith Lamont Scott, on Thursday night, it was revealed that Scott had a disability following a near-death motorcycle crash last year. According to his mother, Veretta Scott Walker, that this caused him to stutter his words, and sometimes he couldn't remember what he said. Unsettling just released footage showing the moments leading up to the fatal shooting taken by Scott's wife also showed her stating he has a TBI, an abbreviation for traumatic brain injury. He's not going to do anything to you guys. He just took his medicine. What is clear is that the police across the United States need better training and interaction with people with disabilities in the course of their daily policing duties in order to reduce incident and police killings, Ruderman added. The Ruderman White Paper on Media Coverage of Law Enforcement Use of Force and Disability, released last March, found that half of all recent high-profile related killings in the United States are of people with disabilities. Despite this being the second fatal police incident in Charlotte, North Carolina in less than a month involving a person with a disability, this unfortunate growing trend continues to be widely overlooked. Okay. And then they give the contact information, and then they give about the about part. Let me see if there's anything more pertinent to this. And there's not. Okay. Here's the deal. This had nothing to do with his disability. Now, what this has to do is, and I say that because, and I'm going to bring up something else before I get into this point. I also, the release of Terrence Crutcher's sister, Dr. Tiffany Crutcher, she spoke on The View, I think it was Friday, and it was revealed that her brother had Terrence had a glass eye, and loss in one of his ears. Hearing loss in one of his ears. So here's the deal. The fact that these brothers had disabilities, although it's a thing and it contributes to their deaths, in my opinion, more training is not going to help the situation. More training is not going to help the fact that in both situations there was no gun. In both situations there was no weapon. In both situations it took multiple police cars to surround one person. And in the case of the Terrence Crutcher situation, he called the police. They surrounded the brother. It was a helicopter there, and still a gunshot needed to happen. This isn't a training issue. This goes back to the initial one of the CNN, and I forgot the brother's name. He was talking about, this goes back to the compliance issue, and this goes back to the issue of black people are always a threat. Nobody knew that this came out after the fact that these guys had disabilities. With the Terrence Crutcher situation, we found out that he had his disabilities after his death. You know, they're now releasing the video about the other brother with the traumatic brain injury. His wife is saying in the video he has a traumatic brain injury, he just took his medication. So there's something going on. That isn't the fact that, because I don't want people to be like, this is an ableism issue, and it can be that way. This is a race issue, man. There's an issue with this country, in this country, and we're seeing it with the Colin Kaepernick thing. We're seeing it with the protest. We're seeing it with a lot of these, social media patriots that want to run around and say stuff on social media. You're seeing it with a lot of media coverage. The lack of apathy and of empathy in this country when it comes to this issue is astounding. It's straight astounding. There's no reason why both these brothers should be dead. None. Okay? Let me go into how both of these brothers' disabilities played a role into their deaths. But you have white police officers, because both of these brothers were not physically disabled to the naked eye. Like, I'm in a wheelchair, you can tell. Like, the brother in North Carolina, he was in a car, and Terrence, he was walking. He was walking in the street, trying to get help for his car. They weren't in wheelchairs or whatever. You couldn't really tell they were disabled, like, offhand from the naked eye. So this isn't a straight up ableism issue. This isn't like there's a war on disabled people. There's a war on black men. These brothers, Terrence was 40. The brother in North Carolina was in his late 30s. They look big. The cop in the Terrence Crutcher situation said this looks like a big dude. The helicopter cop said this looks like a bad dude. There's an issue with black men in this country getting killed. There's an issue with black men in this country being profiled. That's the issue. Now, pertaining to the disability aspect, the fact that these brothers have disabilities is not, I'm not going to say it's not a big deal, because it is. Because if you look at people of color with disabilities, we're more likely to be in the criminal system. We're more likely to be unemployed. There are issues that we have to deal with as disabled people of color that our white counterparts, despite what some of my Facebook friends believe, that a lot of our white counterparts don't have to deal with. And even then, in certain disabilities, because they're hidden and cops are on this, you have to respect my badge or you're gonna die thing. I'm seeing that with a lot of white disabled people too, specifically with autism and deafness. That's those are two disabilities where that's happening a lot more in all races, but I'll get into that later. Terrence Crutcher's situation, that brother had a glass eye, and that brother had loss in his ear. Hearing loss in his ear. I can only speak personally on the glass eye situation. It's not that I only have one eye, but I understand the whole, when you have vision, when you only have vision out of one eye, you lose depth perception, which is like you have tunnel vision, and I have loss of depth perception. So I only see tunnel vision. So it's really hard for me to see peripherally what's going on. You know, I can, but it takes concentration. So we don't know what he was seeing. His left ear had hearing loss in it. We don't know what he was hearing. We don't know, because the cops are saying he didn't respond to commands. It was 20 different commands and no one responded, and he didn't respond. We don't know what he was hearing. We don't know what was going on. We don't know how his disabilities affected the way he responded. It was still nonviolent. There was still no weapon. There was still no need to shoot him. You know what I'm saying? Like, and even if it was a disability component to why they shot him, I'm not surprised, because we live in a country, when it comes to ableism, we live in a country where most people don't even understand what ableism is, number one. And number two, we live in a country where if you live with a disability, you're put on a pedestal just because you're living. And if you die, it's almost like you're celebrated. If you die with a disability, it's like, oh, okay. If you commit suicide with a disability, it's almost like you're celebrated. There are movies about our demise, me before you being one of them. You know what I'm saying? Like, as a black person with a disability, I am part of two minority groups that, as of now, as a country, people don't respect. I've always said people don't respect people with disabilities. That's been proven. And right now, historically, there's been a problem with the black man being disrespected and devalued, and that's happening now. That's happening now with law enforcement. There is no way these two gentlemen should not be alive. There's no way at all. And the fact that you have people running around saying, you have articles running around saying, like, hey, there needs to be more training. No. How can training, like, your first idea in dealing with Terrence Crutcher's situation is to shoot him, and they were rushing to him. If you look at the video, one of the views of the video, they were rushing to him to get him on the ground, and he still died. And then with the let me just bring up that article real quick, so I can get the name correct. Okay, the Keith Lamont Scott situation. His wife is telling you in the video that he has a traumatic brain injury and he just took medicine. Now, I don't necessarily know what was going on there, but again, they're telling you, hey, this is the situation. Hey, there's extenuating circumstances here. Proceed, change the way you're thinking about things, or change what you're gonna do. Like, if somebody's telling you he has a traumatic brain injury, he has a TBI, he just took medicine. Like, there's no reason for you to think of it as, I'm gonna shoot him now. Okay? So we don't really know what was going on there. I think that was a situation where he was in a car. He was sitting in a car, and they shot him. Or he was waiting for somebody, and they shot him in the car, and they said he reached for a weapon. We don't know if the traumatic brain injury was messed with his motor skills or what. But this isn't a training issue. This isn't a training like we need to, because they don't really know what to do. These are black men. We're going to shoot them now because there's a fear level. Or there's a straight up, he's not following my commands. He's bougie. I've heard cops say that. He's not bougie, but he's uppity. I've heard cops say that. He's uppity. He's not respecting the badge. So because he's not respecting the badge, you're going to die today. That's the problem. Training isn't going to solve anything. That's a heart issue. It's aggravating, man. This country is frustrating to me. And no one wants to talk about this, man. I implore all of you. This is on, I tweeted it on my Twitter page. It's on the Pushing While Black Facebook page. I implore every person, white and black, take an hour out of your day and listen to the video that I posted about a letter from the Birmingham jail. And it was a group of people, a group of celebrities and educators and such. They read, and it's a great video. It's wonderfully done. They read a letter, the Martin Luther King Jr. letter from the Birmingham jail, and he basically breaks down why he's protesting racism. And this is written in the time of segregation, but it's apropos of today. And he talks about the white moderate. And he talks about the working class black person that's about the status quo. And it really doesn't want to, to paraphrase, and again, I want you guys to listen to that. Go to my Twitter page, Google it, YouTube the letter. There's two versions. There's one where they did an automated reading of it, and they did a computer voice. Don't get that one. Use the one. Get the one that was. It was some foundation that did the video. It's on my page, and it's on my page, and it's on my Facebook page. It was basically, the letter talks about the stuff I mentioned earlier, and it talks about the white moderate, the one that, he understands the plight of the black man, but he doesn't like civil unrest. He accepts what is going on, for the sake of everything being fine and no civil unrest. And that's what's happening here. I wouldn't do what Colin Kaepernick did as far as kneeling for the national anthem, but I get the gesture. There's a problem here, and this country is letting it happen, and we don't know what to do. You don't want us to, as white people, let me ask you a question. You don't want us to protest. We have the right to protest peacefully, right? You don't want us to do that. You don't want us to march, because the Black Lives Matter people are getting run over now. You don't want us to march. You don't want us to fight back, because if we fight back, we're going to jail. If we, you darn sure don't want us to take up arms. You don't want that. So you don't want, you don't want us, you want us to protest peacefully and not get in the way. But when football players decide to kneel, you hear a bunch of stuff from media outlets. You hear Tommy Loren, you hear, Bill O'Reilly, you hear all these people saying all these very, very stupid things about the First Amendment. And I'm not saying you have to like it, man, but I'm not saying you have to like, the protests and stuff. I'm not saying that. What we do want you to do is, we do want you, as black people, we do want you to have some type of empathy about what's going on. How about not necessarily training with people, with interacting with people with disabilities? How about sensitivity training altogether? Because at least with the Crutcher case, nobody knew he was disabled. He was asking for help. And the fact that he was asking for help and got shot, that's not a disabilities interaction problem. That's a, we're going to shoot you because you look scary and you look like a big dude problem. It has nothing to do with your disability. That has something to do with the fact that there are people in this country that fear an unarmed black man is going to do them harm. Which is why I'm so hard when white people say things. When white people say little stuff, like I was really hard on Mark Cuban when he said that thing about Trayvon Martin when he was talking about the Donald Sterling situation. When he went up and said that, you know, we all have prejudices and I have prejudices, and if I see a black kid with the hoodie, and people on my Facebook page know this, he was defending Donald Sterling, and he said, I have prejudices, we all have prejudices. When I see a black kid in a hoodie, I automatically go across the street. And when I see a white kid, I see a white guy with skinhead and tattoos, I go on the other side of the street. I'm wondering where he's walking now. But see, when you have people, when you have white America with this fear of what the boogeyman black man is, and that is translated to neighborhood watchmen and cops, specifically cops, because you're getting paid by the state to protect people, that becomes a problem. And when unarmed men are getting shot, black men are getting shot, and unarmed brown men are getting shot, and unarmed black men are getting shot laying on the ground. Oh, by the way, I saw the interview with that gentleman on the Steve Harvey show this morning, where he's laying on the ground. They shoot him. And then the police chief runs out and says, "Oh, we were aiming for the." They tried to say that brother was white, but he's actually Mexican. They tried to say he was white, but he's actually Mexican. Then they were saying, "Oh, we were aiming for him." But in that one, dude clearly said he's autistic and he's scared, and he's my patient, and I'm a psychologist, and I work with this brother. So you're aiming for the autistic person, who's also showing no threat to you, but you just happen to miss and shoot a black dude with his hands up. There's a problem with this in this country when it comes to police officers not knowing what to do. And instead of writing articles, and instead of using, you know, your platforms, white folks, instead of using your platforms and instead of writing articles about more training with specific more training, and we need training with disabilities in there. How about non-lethal training where you don't have to use a gun? Explain to me this. Why is it that your average police officer, and I noticed this when I got stopped, because he made sure to let me to have all the things in view when I interacted with the cops. Please explain to me how you get a taser, how you have mace, how you have a nightstick and a pistol. You have you have 5 weapons because they have 2 pistols, an ankle one and a waist holster. You have mace, you have a taser, you have a nightstick, and you have 2 pistols. The first thing police officers reach for now is a pistol? Really? Come on, man. That's not a disabled person centric training thing. You got bad police officers, and we can't just say that. And I don't know why they exist. I don't know why they're there, but they're bad cops out there, man. And can we just say that without it being a thing? We do need to, because you know what? A lot of people with disabilities, a lot of the disabilities are hidden. Or a lot of like I have cerebral palsy and I use a wheelchair and a walker. So that's obvious that the disabilities that you see with the disabilities that I have, you see. There are a lot of people with cerebral palsy that can walk with a cane, can walk with a cane, and you hear stories about those people getting pulled over. They get pulled over and like they get out, when they get out the car, or a cop will, like, I read this story like a couple months ago. Guy goes to the convenience store. Cop sees the guy. He walks with a limp. They think that he's drunk. They surround this dude when he gets out the car, and they surround this guy when he gets out the car, and they arrest him. By the grace of God, the guy that was a neighborhood corner store for him, and the guy, like, the owner runs outside and says he isn't drunk. He has cerebral palsy. He walks like that normally. You know what I'm saying? You hear of stories where if you're deaf and black, and not even deaf and black, because a deaf white person got shot a month ago, because there's this idea he's not following commands, let's shoot him. Okay? So if you're black and deaf, and you already have that racism, the thing that you have to deal with. If you're deaf, that doesn't help the situation. Okay? If you have autism or are on the spectrum of autism, that doesn't help the situation, because people don't understand, because a lot of people with autism, you can't really tell they have autism. A lot of people with Asperger's syndrome, which is on the autism spectrum, you can't really tell that they have that. So when they're interacting with police, all police see is you being combative, or you being, non-compliant. So instead of the police knowing how to deal with that, that's where the training with people with disabilities comes into play. But these two situations, in most situations, are not training issues. They are, you're non-compliant, we're just going to tackle you now. And we're just going to beat you up, or we're just going to pull out a gun. That's a overall, I'm going to train you not to kill people. Okay, your first thing, especially if you're not in imminent danger. If you're not in imminent danger, there's no reason for you to pull out a gun at all. Okay? And half of these people are just out. Are just out doing what they do, and they're being they might be annoying, they might be whatever, and you have to shoot them. Like, y'all got like 5 weapons on your person. 3 of them are non-lethal, and you choose the lethal ones every time. And a lot of cops don't know how to fight either. They don't know how to take somebody down. They don't know how to fight. There's no training in like hand-to-hand combat either. But more training is a thing. That's gonna solve the problem. We got trigger happy cops everywhere. We got trigger happy cops everywhere. We got cops that like to beat people up. The Freddie Gray situation, he was detained. They threw him in the back of a van, and they rolled down like bumpy things to where he can bounce around. Oscar Grant was detained, shot in the back. The Sandra Bland situation, the situation that happened to Sandra Bland, the dynamics of the stop happened to me. The only difference is I don't know. I didn't really say anything, and I told him where I was coming from and where I was going. He left me alone. She was in jail. We don't really know what happened with her. It's like, come on, man. There's no training here. These are bad police officers, and we need to just say that instead of trying to say training. No, this is not a training issue. This is not a training issue. It isn't. What happened in the last few days was not a training excerpt. Couldn't have been solved by more training. We just need better cops, man, and that's the problem. We don't have we have a lot that are good, but we have a segment that's really, really bad at their jobs, or shouldn't really do anything. And the cops that are good don't say anything about the cops that are bad. And oh, by the way, and I'm just going to bring this up and then I'm going to close. If a person anyone is going to tell me about statistically about how more white people die in police custody statistically than black people, then the white folks that are outraged about this, that always like to post that statistic up, y'all need to make that known, and y'all need to start fighting with us. And y'all need to start like saying things with us instead of just bringing it up on YouTube or bringing it up on comments and bringing it up in videos. Why don't y'all fight with us so we can get this problem solved? So everybody can stand in the national anthem and not protest and make everyone happy. I don't know. I guess that's just me venting. Tired of waking up every day and I'm seeing stuff, and then I'm reading stupid articles about training being a thing. They said the body camera thing was gonna solve that. Remember? Body cameras, yay! And then everybody's turning their body cameras off. And this isn't a training thing. This isn't body cameras. This isn't a quick fix. We have bad, racist police officers out there with an idea of black lives not mattering. And if you're disabled anyway, they devalue you anyway as a person if you have a disability. But I can go into that later from a larger ableism standpoint. So that just adds to it. Like, they devalue you anyway as a black man. Your disabilities that half the time they don't even, since they're hidden or can be thought of for something else, that's not even a thing. That's not even an issue until after you die. And it still doesn't help the situation. It still doesn't help the situation because we live in a country where disability doesn't matter and it's devalued anyway. It's not a training problem. This country has a heart problem, and that's what it is. Anyway, I'm done. I'm off my soapbox. I'm pushing Wild Black out later.